how do you sell cybersecurity controls without having to rely on fear to make your prospect understand the urgency and value? Well, frankly, you start by listening to really smart people, like today's guest. I spoke with Dor Eisner. He's a CEO and a founder from Guardz. You've probably seen him around the channel before because he's been in cybersecurity for a really long time, for most of my life. And he has some really fascinating perspectives on why cyber is difficult for prospects to understand, but some of the really tactical things we get into at the end of how to actually go about creating those conversations, and some of his actual ideas that he's used to help MSPs sell cybersecurity controls. Really, really valuable. So I will get out of the way. Let's get into it. Dor Eisner, so glad you're here, man. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks for having me.
You're coming from all the way from, are you in Tel Aviv?
No, I'm actually in Miami.
Oh, Miami. Okay. So disregard. Okay. So you're closer to me than I thought you were. But listen, I'm so glad you're here. We connected a couple of months ago. Guardz has been on my radar for a while. But the reason that I wanted to have you on the show is that there's not a ton of vendors who know how to talk about selling cyber without going very FUD heavy. And there's not a ton of people out there that can seem to know how to sell cyber. But the more I've looked up you and the more we talked, the more I realized you've got actually a pretty long pedigree of working in cyber and selling cyber. So what I'd love to do is I want to hear a little bit about how you got into sort of the cyber world, the IT world, because you've got quite a storied experience. Could you just tell us a little bit about that, how you got into cyber and sort of how you got to what you're doing now?
Sure. So I started doing cybersecurity more than 20 years ago. I was a commander in the Israeli intelligence force, and we did cybersecurity way before it became a category. The pioneers of, the first firewalls like Checkpoint. And I think that, if you think about cybersecurity as a market, more than 50% of the cybersecurity that is being, deployed worldwide is produced in Israel. And this is crazy to think about. It's such a small country and such a big, a producer for the cybersecurity industry. And the reason is that, there is a big foundations of the young generation coming into this amazing, early days experience of doing hands-on cybersecurity and working for the government and for the army. And then it's like straight to the enterprise industry and through the vendor relationship and stuff like that. So I started to do it like more than 20 years ago. And then I moved after about a decade to the startup world. So about a decade ago, I started my first company. It was IoT security. And then I started another company. It was a threat intelligence company, monitoring the dark web and stuff like that. And then we sold it to Rapid7. And then we started Guardz about 3 years ago with a vision and a vision to help small businesses and MSPs secure their clients in a better way. So that was the journey of about 22 years now. And I'm very proud to help, the small business community and the MSP community get better security for their clients and better protection all around.
Yeah, and you've obviously been doing it, as you said, for a very long time. It's interesting to think about that anybody who works in tech at all knows that like Tel Aviv is where all the security startups come from. They're all there. And it's interesting to think about the fact that that's 20, 30 years in the making of an entire generation committed, obviously like more of a militarized society, right? And not just, and with that has come sort of an investment into people and into the concept of cybersecurity and socializing cybersecurity more culturally. It's interesting to think about it that way. But what's unique about you, though, Dor, is that you don't just know the tech, but you've been selling the tech. So you have a technical background, though, correct?
Yeah, I have a technical background. In the first 5 years, I was a technical, like a leader, and then I became, like a director level, for the government. And then I started my company and doing cybersecurity. And, as a founder, you need to know everything about the business. You need to know the technology side, and you need to know the business side equally. And that's what leads me, today to focus more on the business and the go-to-market side, but, with the strong foundations of, knowing the technology and what we need to develop, and also attract the right talent, to develop the product.
Sure. And that's probably that's something we can pivot to in a little bit, is talking about attaching talent. But how did you make that transition from being a technical person, the classic E-Myth founder, right? Like, you have the skills, the technical trade skills, you went into business, but you've clearly been able to learn how to sell this. And we'll talk about your specific, how we sell without using fear. But how did you develop those skills, and what was that process like for you to figure out, as you started talking to non-technical people about these hyper-technical things, what was that journey like for you?
It's an interesting question. I realized very early in the first venture that talking with customers and trying to pitch the solution, it's equally important as developing the solution. Because if you develop the solution without talking to the right ICP, to the right customers, then you are wasting your time. So I realized that, that first you need to build a massive, go-to-market engine, and build the product based on the demand from the market.
Mm-hmm.
So I liked it a lot, and that's why, I stayed in this founder mode for about a decade now, and I just like to build things and talk with customers and help customers achieve their goals. So with the technical background in cybersecurity, I think that this is the right combination of building a successful venture.
You might have already answered this earlier, but what would you say, what was the most crucial thing that you discovered, or that you did, or that you learned that actually helped you sell these cyber solutions?
Understanding the pain.
Okay, talk more about that.
I think that sales, it's all about understanding pain. If you understand what is the pain of the one that you are trying to pitch or to are trying to sell the solution, talking about the pain, go deep on the pain points, that's the right way, to position the solution in the best way. And that's also the best way, to fine tune the offering or the product market fit or the value proposition, you name it, in the right direction. So it's all about the right pain and how deep you understand the pain of your prospects, potential clients, whatever.
I love that you just said that, because so many times I see tools, founders reach out to me all the time about wanting to talk to MSPs and how do you sell to MSPs and stuff. And oftentimes it's some cyber vendor who wants to get in the stack. And you look at what they've built, and they've engineered and over-engineered this big, complicated thing. And then you say, like, what does it do? And they kind of can't even really answer the question. They explain how it works, but they didn't build backwards from product market fit. And so you seem to have, maybe it's just the way your brain works, or I don't know what your magic sauce is, that you realize that you're using all of your cyber know-how to reverse engineer an ideal outcome, aka an ideal product that's actually tethered to something that people need. Instead of saying, I'm going to take everything I know how to do and smash it into an application and then see if people buy it because I'm smart.
Yeah, exactly. Like when we started to develop the product, we had few dozens of design partners even before we wrote the first line of code. And just on the concept, just on the direction, just on, the value proposition that we are going to bring to the game. And I think this is the right way to go when you are trying to build something. And from the other end, we are talking about go-to-market and sales of MSPs, for their small business clients. It's also about the pain points of the clients and the value proposition that you as an MSP can bring to the game. And understanding those pain points, it can be like regulation, compliance, insurance, word of mouth, fear, I don't know, whatever is the pain, you need to deeply understand the pain in order to position your value proposition, your delivery, whatever.
Yeah. This is a good segue into the fear conversation then, because how do you, I'll just ask it as plainly as I can think. How do you build a go-to-market motion for your cybersecurity offering around the pains that it solves without it just being FUD, just fear mongering? How do you do that?
Because we are not selling around the fear of cybersecurity. We are selling to MSPs about the pain points of MSPs. For example, one of the pain points is operational efficiency. If you want to deliver cybersecurity and you want to do it well, you need to understand that this has a lot of cost in your operations. So how you save cost and how you reduce your operational cost, COGS, whatever you call it, in terms of the delivery that is going to be profitable for your business and can scale. This is one pain point. The other pain point is how you evolve your stack against the evolving threats, because threat actors are not siloed their methods. They are actually augmenting and consolidating their methods. The cybersecurity landscape is more about the siloed stack that MSPs are using. And if you have a siloed stack and the bad guys are not siloed their methods, so you are lost in this world. And what we are trying to say and what our vision is that AI is a big component of the selling point these days, because AI is obviously, everyone talks about AI. Everyone uses, ChatGPT and those kind of generative AI. But also the bad guys are using those tools to accelerate and to evolve their ways that they are going after businesses. And what we saw in the last 3 to 5 years is a different black market, is a different dark web forums, is a different ways of doing cybersecurity, or like cyber criminals operating around cybersecurity. And what we realized in the last 2 years, that the way that they are implementing Gen AI into their attack methods is getting much better than everything that we see in the last decade or so. So the last 2 years accelerated, more than a decade of cybersecurity tools in the black markets and the dark forums. And this is what the main thing that MSPs should think about when they're going to their clients. Explain why AI is changing your life, why AI is changing your business, why AI is a big opportunity for your business, but also why AI is such a big change and a big acceleration for the bad guys going to democratizing their tools.
Right. And so your suggestion would be for the MSP listening, you've got these great tools in your cyber stack and all that's good, but you have the responsibility to get buy-in from the people who are ultimately paying for it, because first of all, they need to pay for the tools, but second of all, they need to be compliant with the best practices. They need to actually, okay, you sell them MFA, now they've got to use MFA and not turn it off. And all that kind of basic stuff, or privileged access management, those things, their quality of life or their workflow, there's adaptations to interacting with technology when you're using best practices for cyber. So you need buy-in from them. So your suggestion is to use AI as the beginning talking point to talk about how and why threats are evolving, and therefore how and why security must evolve in kind.
Exactly. I think this is the best, way, to position your MSP service delivery, because AI, the customers knows that AI is here and AI is going to stay. And this is the biggest revolution of the tech industry in the last few decades. And the impact of AI on cybercrime is going to be tremendous in the coming years.
Yeah. Because okay, I like this idea because, as you said, AI is so ubiquitous that I'm finding that the end user the CEO, the president of the 40 user accounting firm, who the MSP is talking to. AI to them is one of a couple things. It's either they have this reductionist view of what it is. So they're like, AI equals ChatGPT and the background editor. Like, I can remove people from the background of my iPhone photos. Okay, that now I'm using AI. So they think of it as something very small. Alternatively, they think of it as this vague, confusing, and scary black box. Like, I don't know what it is, and they feel inferior, they feel unequipped. So they have oftentimes there's FOMO. We're seeing of businesses going, I think everybody else is doing it and 1000xing their output, and we don't know what that means. How do I use it? So then they might be attempting to use it in ways that are not compliant, or they just have no idea, So if we can position ourselves, obviously, as the AI expert, that's a whole other go-to-market conversation we could be having, that AI as a service, AI governance, AI management, AI deployment, AI utilization as a whole is a great service that managed services should be evolving into. But also using this as the talk track to explain to them, actually, here's some of the things AI are capable of. Imagine that the US military, or that your country's military, every soldier has a jetpack now. Okay, well, what does that do to our military capability? Okay, now imagine that the other guys have jetpacks. Or the other guys have jetpacks and now they can hold their breath underwater forever. Okay, well, what is that doing to the way that we need to position ourselves for national security? And security is a concept that's not foreign. Cybersecurity is just this vague, confusing kind of, it's ethereal. They don't know exactly what it means, other than they think of their email and maybe pop-ups, maybe bad links or something, but that's their entire perspective of security. They don't know about all the other stuff.
I like the analogy of the army and, like the special power of, every soldier. Think about it the same with AI, helping any cyber junior criminal in the world become the most sophisticated cyber criminal in the world in mass market spray and pray motion. And think about, the power of, like attack as a service, phishing tool as a service, fraud tool as a service, malware tool as a service, ransomware tool, you name it. And the power is just, it's very cost effective for the cyber criminals. And when it's very, very cost effective, it's becoming a mass market problem, and it's becoming the SMB problem. And, like research talk about, that more than 50% of the cyber attacks are going after small businesses. I'm saying that more than 75%, because most of the small businesses are not even aware, of the cyber breach, the data loss, until it's the right time. And then even if they're aware, they are not going to the police or to the newspaper and say, hey, my business was breached. It's kind of a silent breach.
Yeah. Right. So much of it is unreported, right? That the data is probably only showing us the reflection of obviously what we can report. And maybe there's some speculation, but they're not going to report on that, right? They're not going to, it's not concrete. Exactly. And the final maybe thought on that is, because deploying these threats, like you're saying, ransomware as a service, malware as a service, phishing as a service, if you can deploy a threat or an attack for pennies, you can afford to target people who might only be able to pay you 3,000 USD in Bitcoin. And you don't have to go for the people who can give you 250,000 in Bitcoin, who have a ransom negotiator and they have insurance. But you can go to uninsured people because they don't have to file a claim, because it's a small enough thing, because you could deploy it for small enough, where it costs you nothing to get that money, and it's all automated.
That's exactly the point. We are in a kind of AI inflection point that the bad guys are leveraging at scale, and the democratization of the attack as a service tools are scaling and spray and pray motion against the very small businesses. And I think that there is a huge opportunity for MSPs to capitalize on the demand and to know how to pitch, their value proposition around cybersecurity, and not talk about the fear, talk about the potential impact, talk about, like what's going on in the cyber criminal forums and then trying to explain the customer that they are the next victim potentially, without getting into the specific, details of, what's
Yeah.
going to happen.
Without like what I might call twisting the knife, which that's what a lot of people want to do is they want to twist the knife and say, wow, what could happen if they got your child's photo and then they did all of these horrible things with it and they stole your life savings, and you get really into the details. Now, the thing about fear is that fear works. Just like lying works. It doesn't mean you should do it. You could tell people whatever they want to hear to buy your program. That doesn't mean you should sell it. That we shouldn't lie to do it. But let's get tactical for a minute, because you're a guy who's, as I said, you've had so much exposure, not only selling what you sell to managed services, but passing through. Like, there's a reason your tool is used by so many MSPs, because it's impacting MSPs' ability to generate new revenue. So let's get tactical for a minute. What are some of the actual go-to-market motions or strategies that you are suggesting to an MSP? How do they get this sort of awareness out there? How do they get it in front of people? Are they doing lunch and learns? Are they just doing standard email campaigns? Like, what are you seeing people do successfully to create that awareness?
I think the more engagement around, personal engagement. I think that lunch and learn, webinars, this kind of this kind of marketing works better than the spray and pray cold email, like cold calling and stuff like that. I think it's much better these days because people are looking for this personal, with all the digital world that we are living, people are looking for this kind of, personal engagement. So I think that these two motions should work perfectly for the right communities, for the right geolocations. And then come to these webinars with value. Talk about, like what's going on in the black markets, what's going on in the world, what's going on in SMB security. I don't know, pick the topic and bring to this meeting the right information. And the right information, for example, at Guardz, if you are an MSP using the platform, even for free, you can be on our community package, and we have a community package for free that any MSP in the world can join our community package and use Guardz for free. $0, zero commitment. And we have like a tool that we call it a prospecting tool, that you can just put the domain of the business and you get, after a few minutes, a very detailed report about all the vulnerability, all the exposure, all the, the dark web data that was leaked in the wild, and all the, open ports, vulnerable operation system, stuff that is missing in the business. And when those prospects come to your webinar to talk about whatever is the topic, then you share with them, at the end of this webinar, hey, just wanted to give you some, information about your business. Boom, they got for something, and then you are sharing something about their business. That's great. Then, if they start to ask questions, you can, as an MSP, you can say, hey, let me onboard you on my tools free of charge, a week of, evaluation without any commitment. And after a week, you can generate from the Guardz platform a business review report, fully automated, fully branded. And then you can get this report and put it in front of the MSP, in front of the business owner, and say, listen, this is what we discovered, initially. This is what we discovered after doing like deep dive analysis on your business, connecting to your Microsoft 365, to your emails, to your devices. This is the situation. Now I can help you. If you want my help, you can get my help. If you want to talk with someone else and get his help, but I highly recommend you to do something.
I love that. So your suggestion is you do a webinar or lunch and learn, something like this. At the end of the webinar, you say, hey, by the way, put your email, or, hey, I punched your domain into this free search. By the way, the entire dark web has access to this for $2 a month or for free.
Yeah.
So this is something that every bad guy has. I'm not creating any new attack surface, right? Like, I'm not exposing anything that isn't literally out in the world for anybody who wants to find it. Now you're added to the list of people who can see it. Here's all of your open ports. Here's all your cyber vulnerabilities, all your lapse certificates, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And you're suggesting then, hey, let me put my stack in 7 days, and let's run another report and see how much better position you're in, and I won't charge you anything.
Exactly.
You schedule the meeting right then. Go ahead.
Lead with value. That's That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Lead with value, and in small pieces of values. Don't bring all the value in one time. Bring
Yeah.
a small piece of value, and then another small piece of value, and then your full value proposition. And if your full value proposition resonate, then you can get a deal. And if it's not resonant, maybe someone else will get a deal. But at
Yeah.
least exposure, your business exposure is there.
Yeah. I mean, if you did what you just said, let's say you did a lunch and learn, you got 6 business owners to come to a dinner with you, and you got 2 of them to take you up. You ran 5 reports. One of them opted out. 2 of those reports said a week later, they went, wow, I went from all of these risks to no risks. And then they say, what happens if you pull all your tools out? You say, well, then you'd be in the same position you were before you met me. I'm happy to do that. But you pay me $2,500 a month. We manage you, blah, blah, blah. By the way, since I already onboarded you, I'll waive my onboarding fee, $0 onboarding fee. We start today. And 12-month commitment. If we're unhappy for any reason, you give it to me in writing. If I can't fix it in 90 days, you can break contract. If you do that for 2 people, one of them says yes, guess what? You just turned a 6-person lunch and learn. You bought 6 people dinner, $70 promoting it, and you got a great $2,500 MRR client. You just do that every 4 weeks.
Do it every week.
Do it every week.
Do it every whatever is the cadence that you feel comfortable with. But
Yeah.
that's how you should attract new business in this age.
I really like that strategy. So that's okay. That's a great idea. If they wanted to do something like this, I agree with you that the more kind of hands-on approach, the relationship-driven one, where you're actually talking to them, is for sure the most effective move. But just so that we give everybody sort of a door number 2, is there any other way? Is there a more of a one-to-many approach? Could you do the same thing on a webinar with 50 people attending? Or do you think it loses efficacy when you go?
I think webinar is the second option. I think lunch and learn or dinner or a community dinner. It's the best way to go. Like small scale but high value, probably high conversion rate. Webinars is the second way. Like digital webinars, and bring someone to talk about something besides the security or this topic. Talk about, I don't know, organic food, whatever, or how to make your employees happier, whatever. And I think the third one is more like events. Like you can go to different events that are not like MSP related events, like just business owner community, chambers of commerce, stuff like that. And just position your stuff there, like pay for the booth, I don't know, few $100, and come well prepared, like get the list of the audience before you come to this event, prepare some reports and prepare some pre-cooked stuff for the specific clients, and try to get them into your booth with the right messaging.
Yeah. I love that. So webinar is a second good option. Frankly, if it were me, I would be calling vendors, cybersecurity vendors. I'd be calling people like Guardz and going, hey, do you have any, can you help me? Do you have any MDF? Do you have any giveaways? Do you have any promotional materials? Can you guys help me fill this room? Can you get me 5 people, help me get 5 people in the room?
We are doing it for our, certified partners anyway, like because we have a big, investment in digital marketing. So anyway, we are getting a lot of businesses, small businesses to our funnel, and we are not able to sell to small businesses because our product and our platform built for MSPs. So it's too much complicated, for small business to operate. So we are sending the leads, the small business leads, into our certified network of MSPs. So feeding our certified MSPs with leads, that are coming into the funnel. So that's one thing that we are doing. And the second thing is just MDF, giving marketing dollar funds to our certified network. Hey, you need $5,000 to do this event. Go do this event if you believe it will generate business, because your business is our business, and we are in it together.
Yeah, I mean, I love that so much. This is a perfect example, MSPs, of you can take responsibility, you can take power over your brand presence, and other people are out there to help you, because the MSP is the MSP is the entry point into the small business that people like Guardz, you just said, you can't sell your product directly to the company because they need an intermediary. You're a channel only. And probably almost everybody in the MSP stack, frankly, you could call all of them and say, hey, do you want me to sell 50 more licenses? Great. Help me. I need to buy this booth. I bought the sponsorship thing, or help me pay for the sponsorship fee for this golf tournament. I need this $400 booth for a backdrop. I need to buy a TV so that I can run assessments right there. I need to buy this. I need to buy some swag to give away. I need to do something and get some help. And even, hey, do you guys have any talk tracks? Do you have any scripts that I can use? Can you guys help me with any of that stuff? This is how you should be leveraging the army that is behind you that needs you to succeed. Dor makes more money when you close a new deal. So he wants to help you, right? And I'm using you as a figurehead, right? Of course, but this is good stuff.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, look, we've covered I think we got right to it. Is there anything else we need to address? Is there anything else you want to say to the MSP listening who, especially, I would love if there's any other tactical stuff you can do to explain the difference between educating them on the threats versus twisting the knife and basically threatening, making them feel threatened or uneasy by the threats.
It's all about, like education and open conversation. And it's more about why you are better than the other MSP in the neighborhood. So keep this in mind. And I know that, obviously the cybersecurity market is highly fragmented, and probably 95% or 100% of the MSPs probably using some point solutions in their stack, in their arsenal. But keep in mind that if your cybersecurity is not up to date and your silo detections are not coming together, you are losing a lot of context. And even if you get the client and you won't provide the great product or the great service delivery, you will lose the client. And churn is terrible, like it's better not get the client, from the moment you start. So keep in mind that it's about education, it's about getting the right customers, and it's about deploying the right security tools into these customers. So we are happy to help with all of that, and obviously support the MSP community, because that's what we do, day in, day out. And please feel free to reach out to me directly if you have any question. Obviously, you can get in Guardz, guardz.com, and get the exposure, get everything ready, and get just the platform, to play with and, operate, get the reports. Everything is free of charge. We are not charging for any usage, any report, anything that is helping MSPs to drive business. If you get the business, we'll charge for the subscription because we are a rev share model.
Yeah, I love it, man. Okay, well, those links you just mentioned are super valuable. We'll put those in the show notes for this. Dor, thank you for joining me. I know you have a really tight schedule. I'm glad we were able to squeeze this in, and I think this is going to be very helpful to a lot of the listeners. So thank
you very much, Brian. Thank you very much, and I hope it was a success.